Across summer, we worked on some projects in the garden. Now, we didn't film these at the time that we were doing them, or not to any large extent, because sometimes you simply want to get things done and not spend the time on the detail of trying to film at the same time. But we thought today, since it's a beautiful sunny day, we'd let you have a look at what we've done. Now, they set out to be summer projects, but ultimately they were not finished until well into the autumn. Now, the first of them was this gate. We initially had only one major gate entering our fence, and ultimately that is somewhat inconvenient because it means that things that you want to take out of the garden, you actually have to cart all the way to that gate. So this was a stepping stone to a second project that we'll look at in a moment. Having this gate here, it's of a width that we can actually come in with the tractor, and that's what we actually used it for. It's also an easy place for Elizabeth when she's trimming trees to actually take the remnants out into the forest where they can compost naturally. Putting a gate into our fence isn't the easiest process because I really like to try and make it so that it's vermin proof. Well, at least snake, possum, rabbits. Really you don't get to be rat or mice proof with this type of thing, but it's really nice to keep the snakes out if you can. And because of that, right at the bottom I've put a concrete bar underneath so that it comes quite tight against that. Now, it's nothing flash to look at, it's designed to be functional. I made some of my own locking mechanisms here. They're fairly tight because this timber moves around. But it does open up, and you can either just walk through like that, or you can open the second one and you can come in with the tractor. So that was the first project. And it enabled the second one, and I'll let Elizabeth introduce that one.
I've always intended to deal with this area, but when we were busy building, it kind of got left to the side. It once was, you can see there was a tree here, a full gum tree, and there was another tree over the back here. Anyway, for how long have we been here? About 14 years, it was turned into a jungle. It was the space that was never dealt with, and it once had a banana passion fruit growing over all the stumps, and then I used it as a scrap garden for all my garden clippings. And then that's it, I'm ready to do something with it that has to be better. So eventually we built that garden wall, and the scrap heap still remained. And then I felt, no, let's do a bit more. So I've redesigned it, and this year we've finally got to doing it. So I left the trees, John sort of tidied them up a little bit, and it was naturally rotting away in the middle. And so I just used that space to put some bulbs inside. As we went on, we worked around what was already existing. As you see, the tree stump, and there was a tree there, and John cut it shorter for me, it rotting away. And then I asked if we could just put these in. They're not actually a tree, they're just a circled stump that I asked John, could you cut some? And then this one here is a cut off from another tree, so it's not actually a tree, it's just a slice of a piece of stump. So I've just had that removed there from another tree for the fun of it. But these actually serve a purpose, my stepping stone logs. So I can access the wall here, and it looks really good. And we worked around the lilac tree that was already there. That's a light coloured lilac. And I've planted a dark lilac here. And by chance, I managed to get a new plant off this lilac that was just a cutting that turned into something. It was rooted, and I've also planted that. And so over time, this will turn into trees. And I have a rhododendron there that's meant to be a peachy colour, and that'll fill up this space. It'll take years and years, but anyway, I'm really pleased the way it's turned out. And over time the wood chip will disappear, and I have snow in the summer, the silver foliage, and this will all be silver. John has put wooden edges around it to contain the soil and the bark, and I've always liked that as a tidy, workable edge.
This sleeper edge was the last thing that I finished, but in some ways I would say it's not 100% finished, because one of the things that I tend to do when I put in sleepers like this is to put a concrete strip at the bottom so that there's a mow over edge, and that saves me coming around and doing any whippersnipping in terms of tidy up when you mow. So I haven't done that as yet. I will come back and do that at a later time, but if you're interested in that type of thing, I'll put a link. I've got previous videos where I was putting in this type of sleeper edging and put the concrete around it.
Over the years I've been developing this garden better. I originally started just with the 3 camellias on either side. They're a white and 2 pinks. And then I this year thought, well, I will go on and put some mint, Tasmanian mint trees in. They're real fine, dainty, they don't grow very tall, and by the time they've had their life, they have about 5 years in them. Then the camellias will get thicker. Then the idea is there'll be like a wall, a hedge of those. And as time has gone on, well, we have now built the archway, and we always did talk about building an arch, and John always wanted to put a door out so we have another access to the bush. And so that I'm really excited that that has happened. And then we have, I've this year just put these in, these dwarf roses. And I thought it'd be really nice, as you'll see around the garden, have these nice stump rings. And then I thought, well, why not have some stepping stones in there? And so it draws you in. And then I will eventually have this all covered. It has a white clematis, Montana, and so that will be just white. And maybe I'll get another one to put it on that side, but these ones grow really, really well. And so hopefully by next spring, it'll be really thick and covered. And so I've tried to keep it balanced so everything is the same on both sides. In the very front, I've got a plant called Deep Sea, and it's, well, in the other parts of my garden they thicken up and they got lovely leaves, but here I don't know how well it'll go. But the idea is to have height, so the tall, short to the ground. And yeah, well, I'm always making more garden beds.
So as Elizabeth has said, this has been a little bit of a progression across time, starting with the plants and finally leading to the structure. The structure, of course, was built around the fact that I wanted to put a gate in here. Now, currently, this is a gateway to nowhere. It goes outside of our fence. It does, again, allow us the ability to take things out. It was partially driven from the fact that quite often I'm outside the fence on that side and want to come in and have to walk all the way around and come in the other gate. And so I thought that's pretty silly. It'd be good to have a gate here. So it's become a lot fancier gate than it perhaps needs to be, but still it looks nice and we're happy with that. It took quite a while to build, and I was doing it in little pieces as I had the time across summer. The gate itself was a major part of the project. I wanted something that looked quite interesting, considering the arbour here sort of leading you in. We had this for some time sitting around. It was a piece of ironwork that Elizabeth's father had created many, many years ago and was from her childhood, and she wanted to showcase it somewhere, but we could never quite find the appropriate place to put it. And so we thought it's quite nice to put it on here and create a bit of a feature on the gate. And rather than just having the boring iron fence here, I thought to make something out of some timber. So we put a few palings along each side that made it blend in. So this gate has to be opened from both sides. There is, it's a little tight because we've had some rain, but that opens there, and there's another catch on the other side. That allows me, if this one is open, to actually open and close from the outside as well. Now, a big part of putting a gateway in like this was, again, as I said earlier with the other gate, to make it snake proof, as well as stopping things like the possums coming in. So again, I built a piece of concrete here. This one is a little bit more complex because of the step down and the fact that this gate has the iron on the outside, which I wanted to seal as well. So here on the outside, I haven't quite finished a step properly for it, but you'll see it's not so exciting. The idea here was to blend it into the fence so that possums couldn't climb up it. With the concrete at the bottom, snakes can't get underneath either, or rabbits or any of those types of things. So it just doesn't look as good. This area outside the fence here has been an area that I have intended to develop to some degree. There's a few heaps that need to be tidied up and burnt and allow me to build a second fence out here, and then we'll have another area that we can grow in. So that's what's been keeping us busy across summer and into autumn, along with all the usual jobs that we do. But it's always nice to find a few projects to actually change your environment and to advance it a little bit into something that you enjoy even more. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like it, subscribe if you haven't, and share it.